In the deep silence of the earth, where the sun does not reach, a man waits for death. The air is thick with the ammonia reek of old urine and the copper tang of fresh blood. In the corner, the wet, heavy breathing of a monster vibrates against the stone walls. This is not a battlefield of bronze and glory, this is a slaughterhouse. And the man trapped inside is no ordinary soldier. He is the architect of the Trojan horse, the most cunning mind of his age. But here in the dark, his sword is useless, his strength is nothing. To see the dawn, he must do the one thing a hero never does. He must become nothing, he must become nobody. The war was over. 10 long years of siege had ended in fire, and Odysseus, the king of Ithaca, had turned his prow toward the west. But the gods are not kind to those who conquer too boldly. Driven off the map by malevolent winds, his fleet was spit out onto a strange shoreline. It was a land of terrifying abundance, wild wheat growing without a plow, vines heavy with grapes untended by human hands. This was the land of the Cyclopes, a race of giants who lived in solitary lawlessness, fearing neither man nor God. Driven by the fatal curiosity that is his burden, Odysseus led 12 men inland. They carried a skin of wine, a gift from Maron, a priest of Apollo. This was not soldier's ration. It was a divine vintage, sweet and black, so potent it was meant to be diluted with 20 parts water. It was a drink for gods or a weapon for the desperate. They found the cave high in the cliffs. Inside, it smelled of animal musk and sweet milk. Crates of cheese towered like fortress walls. It was a shepherd's home, but the scale was wrong. The milking pails were as large as cauldrons. The men begged to take the cheese and run, but Odysseus refused. He stood firm on the protocols of civilization. He demanded the rights of Xenia, the sacred law of hospitality that binds guest and host. He sat by the fire and waited. Then the earth shook. Polyphemus returned. He was a mountain of flesh, a single eye burning in his forehead like a forge fire. He drove his flock inside, hundreds of sheep flowing like a woolly river. Then, with a grunt that rumbled like thunder, he lifted a slab of rock so massive that 22 four-wheeled wagons could not shift it. He sealed the entrance. The boom of the stone hitting the earth was the sound of a tomb closing. Odysseus stepped forward, invoking Zeus. The giant merely laughed. "We Cyclopes," he rumbled, "care nothing for Zeus. We are better than they." To prove it, he snatched 2 of the Greeks. He did not strike them with a weapon. He dashed their heads against the floor as a man might kill a puppy. He tore them limb from limb and ate them raw, washing the meat down with unmixed milk. Odysseus gripped his sword. He saw the opening, the liver, exposed as the monster slept. But his mind, his metis, stayed his hand. If he killed the monster, who would move the stone? They would rot here. He slid the blade back. They were not prisoners, they were livestock. Dawn brought no mercy. The giant woke, milked his ewes with surprising tenderness, and then snatched 2 more men for breakfast. He rolled back the stone, drove his flock out, and sealed the cave again. Left in the gloom, Odysseus did not weep. He calculated. He needed a weapon to defeat a force of nature. He found it in the sheep pen, a club of green olive wood the size of a ship's mast, drying in the dung. He ordered his men to cut a 6-foot section. They smoothed it, not with the artistry of carpenters, but with the frantic energy of the condemned. They whittled the point, and Odysseus hardened it in the fire, turning the green wood into a carbonized spear tip, harder than iron. They hid it beneath the dung. The physical trap was set, now for the mind. When the giant returned that evening, sealing the cave and devouring 2 more men, Odysseus made his move. He filled a bowl with the dark, unmixed wine of Maron. "Cyclops," he called out, "drink this. Wash down your meal of man-flesh." Polyphemus drank. The sugar and alcohol, undiluted, hit his primitive system like a hammer. He demanded more. "Give me another," he slurred. "And tell me your name, stranger, so I may give you a guest gift." Odysseus poured. A second bowl, a third. "My name," Odysseus said, leaning close, "is Nobody. My mother, my father, all my friends. They call me Nobody." The giant laughed, a wet, gurgling sound. "Then here is my gift, Nobody. I will eat you last." The monster toppled backward, overcome by the narcotic wine. He vomited flesh and liquor onto the floor and fell into a stupor. This was the moment. Odysseus signaled his men. They retrieved the olive stake and thrust it into the embers. They let it glow until it pulsed with a terrifying red-hot light. They sprinted across the cave and drove the burning point into the giant's single eye. They leaned their weight into it, spinning the shaft as a shipwright spins a drill into a hull. The eye did not just burn, it hissed. It shrieked like a blacksmith, plunging a white-hot axe into cold water, the steam of the boiling eye echoing against the stone. Polyphemus woke with a scream that shattered the air. He tore the stake from his face. He howled for his neighbors. They came running to the sealed door. "Polyphemus!" they shouted. "Who is hurting you?" And from the darkness, the blinded giant roared the words that saved the Greeks. "Nobody is killing me. Nobody is killing me by treachery." The neighbors paused. "If nobody is hurting you," they called back, "then it is a sickness from Zeus. We cannot help." And they walked away. Odysseus had weaponized the giant's isolation. The stone remained. Morning came, and the blind giant rolled the rock aside. He sat in the doorway, his massive hands sweeping low, feeling the back of every sheep to ensure no man rode out. Odysseus lashed the rams together in threes, tying a man beneath the middle sheep of each trio. For himself, he chose the bellwether, the king of the flock. He curled beneath the beast, gripping the thick violet fleece with hands cramping from strain, hanging face up as the ram walked toward the monster. Polyphemus stopped the animal. He stroked the fleece. "My dear old friend," he wept, "why are you last today? Are you grieving for your master's eye, which that villain nobody blinded?" Beneath the beast, Odysseus held his breath, inches from the hand that had snapped his friends in half. The giant sighed and pushed the ram away. "Go," he muttered. They were free. They drove the flock to the ship and pushed off into the grey surf. They were safe. Silence would have been their shield. But Odysseus was a man of Kleos, of glory. A victory is not a victory if the enemy does not know who defeated him. He stood on the deck. "Cyclops!" he roared. "You thought you could eat my men? Zeus has paid you back." Polyphemus heard the voice. He ripped a pinnacle of rock from the mountain and hurled it by sound alone. It crashed into the sea, the backwash nearly driving them back to the beach. The men begged their captain to be silent, but the pride of the hero is a poison. Odysseus waited until they were further out. He cupped his hands. "Cyclops, if any man asks who blinded you, tell them it was Odysseus, the sacker of cities, the son of Laertes, the man who lives in Ithaca." He gave the monster the targeting data. A curse cannot find nobody. It needs a name. Polyphemus fell to his knees and raised his hands to the sky. He prayed to his father, the Earthshaker. "Hear me, Poseidon. If I am truly your son, grant that Odysseus never reaches his home. But if he is destined to see his friends again, let him come late. Let him come in evil plight. Let him lose all his companions. Let him come on a foreign ship, and let him find trouble in his house." The sea darkened. The waves grew steep. Poseidon had heard. The stone door was open, but the journey had only just begun. For the sake of a name, Odysseus had traded a quick return for 10 years of sorrow. He would lose the ships. He would lose the men. He would wash ashore alone, a beggar in his own kingdom. It is the oldest lesson of the bards, written in blood and salt. The mind may conquer the monster, but only the humble survive the gods.